welcome to Beans and Breakdowns, a podcast dedicated to specialty coffee and the heavy music community. This week, I'm joined by Mike Thorwart of Dead Sled Coffee. Mike is a co-founder and co-owner of Dead Sled, and he's also a longtime hardcore fan from Pennsylvania. So grab a cup of coffee and wake the fuck up! All right, caffeinated crew, I'm here with Mike Thorwart of Dead Sled Coffee. He is co-founder, co-owner, coffee extraordinaire. Mike, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's been a long time since I sat down on a podcast, so it's kind of nice to get back on it. You know, it's been a while.
It's refreshing, right?
It is. I used to love it, you know.
Well, here on Beans and Breakdowns, we're going to talk about heavy music and we're going to talk about coffee. Let's talk about the coffee that you're drinking on your end today.
Right now, I'm actually drinking our brand new Diablo coffee. It's got Papua New Guinea in it, Ethiopian coffee. It's a super nice blend. It's actually one of our newest home blend. It's not a collaboration of any sort. It's something that we came up with on our own. It took a very long time, and we finally found it. It's a very high craft quality coffee, which is why it's a little more expensive than normal. But, we're not Folgers. So.
And what is the roast profile on that coffee?
That is near like a French roast. So then you got dark French, dark, which is a full Italian, and then a French, and then full city.
Are there any particular notes that you're tasting in the cup of that roast?
For this particular one, there's a lot of cherry notes. There's a lot of cherry notes, a lot of chocolate notes, but the Ethiopian at the end, it's all bean. Just because just because of the level that it's roasted, there's just a little oil left on the Ethiopian beans because they're such high quality, and you have to put a lot of heat to it. And that's it. I mean, it's a pure coffee, and it's so good. And
that's awesome.
It's probably my new going favorite for us.
On my side, I got 2 bags from Dead Sled in the mail. I'm drinking the Vampira roast today.
Oh, nice. The Mexican.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Oaxacan coffee when I can find it. Oaxacan single origins. Mexican single origin coffees are pretty hard to come by here in Montreal. So whenever I can get my hands on it, I always like to pick up a bag and, try it out.
Right.
I was super excited when I was going to buy some coffee from you guys for the episode and found the Vampira. So I snatched that up. I also got the Wisdom and Chains blend because I like Wisdom and Chains.
Yeah, absolutely. The Amaretto Biscotti.
I haven't tried it yet because I need to figure out the grind size. I do mostly just manual brew at my house.
Right.
And I may need to just try it out in an AeroPress or something like that so that I can get the real flavor of the coffee and everything. The Vampira, the Oaxacan, it's really great. I've let it cool for a bit, so I'm really tasting. It's kind of throwing me because the roast isn't quite what I'm used to. It's a bit darker than the coffees that I usually drink, especially on a single origin. But I'm definitely tasting a lot of that great chocolatey, earthy flavor that you would typically find in a Oaxacan and even some stone fruit. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, when the Vampira first came out, it was one of our most popular ones almost right away. At first, people just bought it because it's Vampira, right? And she's on the bag. Like they weren't even they weren't reading. They didn't know the origins. They're just like, oh, look at that spooky bag. Let me get it. Which is totally fine. But once people started drinking it, they're like, wow. They're like this. It's really good. So the sales just shot up on it. Everything else kind of went down because they wanted that single origin coffee. And it's very good.
And it's one of 2 single origins that you guys offer. I think there's one other single origin you guys are roasting.
Right now, well, all of our flavor coffee is like single origin Colombian. But, it's just that they're at different roast levels. And then with the, infused flavor. But yeah, I mean, currently they are our only single origin coffee. Vampira.
I saw that you guys announced the collab with Bloody Disgusting, and you're infusing it with cherries and
chocolate.
Chocolate, that's right.
Yeah, that was their idea, actually. Because of the whole bloody thing, Bloody Disgusting. They wanted like they asked me if red coffee was possible. And I'm like, yeah, if you put fake food coloring in it, it's totally possible, but we're not going to put anything fake in it. So you're just going to have to deal with chocolate and cherries and like a regular black coffee. That's it.
Just think red while you're drinking it. It'll be the same effect.
Correct. If you want to drink blood, just pretend it's blood. Or when you're home, put your own food coloring in it. I don't care what you do.
That's on you at that point.
Absolutely.
Staying on the subject of coffee, what personally drew you to specialty coffee, the coffee industry as a whole?
Well, it's actually a crazy story. For the majority of my life, I was like a Cafe Bustelo guy. I'm just typical or just to-go coffee. If I was on the road, I would stop at like a Dunkin' or something like that. And my background is in IT and web design and things like that. So one of my very best friends, my best friend actually, is the one that, originally started Dead Sled. And he knew that I was a web guy. So he's like, hey, do you want building the website? We'll pay you. I was like, no, I'm like, you don't have to pay me. I'm like, we're pals. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just build the website for you. It's not a big deal. So then I ended up doing more and more for the site. Then I started running the social media. Then they sent me some coffee. And I'm like, so let's see what the difference is here. And I got to tell you, and then from that day, I became a snob immediately. I was just like, okay, now I get it. So only about 3 years now, little over 3 years is when and that's how I kind of got into coffee. It was almost by accident. It wasn't, I'm not a lifelong coffee snob. I never went to tastings. I never did anything like that in the beginning. The only tastings I ever did up until Dead Sled's point was like bourbon tasting. That's the only thing, that's it. And so that's how I got into coffee. And now I'm hooked.
Just stumbled into it.
I did.
And
I really did.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
That's great. Dead Sled is all about music and movies, specifically horror films.
Correct. Yeah.
Could you talk about the origin story of Dead Sled? From designing the website, what was the starting motions of it?
Well, the whole motto was, a coffee for, the exceptional and unconventional. It was for the creeps. It was for the outcasts. It was for people who, didn't know. You could know everything about coffee or know nothing about coffee. You could be yourself. And we don't care who you are. We don't care how much you know. And it just so happens that we're all horror fans. We're all gigantic music fans, all from different realms of music. It's crazy how much us three differ when it comes to music. But, and then it just kind of all whirlwind and transpired from there. Our first 3 collaborations were pretty early, and it was Vincent Price, Bela Lugosi, and Vincent, in a Vampira. And then our first band was Wisdom in Chains. And then from there, we had no idea how quick everything was going to explode after that. So, and we just were like, yeah, like horror is our thing, and music based around metal, rock and roll, punk, hardcore. That's us, and it encapsulates everything that we are. Like, there's no posing. Like, if I say that I like hardcore, I like hardcore. If I like metal, you know what I mean? If Mike and Dee, who are the other 2 partners, and they also happen to be husband and wife, they're the biggest Kiss fans you'll ever meet on earth. I mean, gigantic. So like, there's no, oh, let's just get Kiss because they sell. They really wanted Kiss. They really wanted to work with them.
I was really curious about that collaboration. I actually found Dead Sled through Wisdom in Chains. I was searching around for coffee that was collaborating with hardcore bands and hardcore music and things like that, and I was immediately drawn to the horror films and the classics.
Right.
And when I saw the Kiss collaboration, it's really cool. It's a bag for every member of Kiss.
Yeah, that's the limited bag.
But just seeing you guys collaborating with Wisdom in Chains, and very shortly after, collaborating with Kiss, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. It, like the order was, we had the Wisdom and Chains, and then we actually got the little ska band, the Toasters, like the old school ska band. And then Robert Englund came. Kiss came after Robert Englund. So we kind of got a conversation with them because we were working with Freddy Krueger, basically.
Oh, okay.
Right. So they saw the packaging at that point, and they're like, oh, so you guys just are some scumball trying to work with us, right? It's just like, you guys are legitimate. Like if Robert Englund is giving you his name, there must be something there.
Keeping on the subject of collaborations, speaking about Robert Englund, Wisdom and Chains, Kiss, even the Bela Lugosi estate doing a blend with them.
Correct. Yeah.
What, in your experience, warrants a great collaboration?
First off, it has to fit the genre. It has to fit what we're about. It has to have our same values. It has to have the look of Dead Sled. We have to like what we're doing. So, if we want to work with a particular person, we all kind of talk about it. If someone will shoot a name, like in our little Facebook group amongst us three, we'll be like, hey, what about this person or what about this band? And we're all brutally honest with one another. That's how you have to be. Friends or not, it has to go to the side. And it's like, yeah, I don't really see that being us. Next. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like just because I'm a fan doesn't mean it's going to make a good coffee, or doesn't mean that if it's Dead Sled, I'll be a fan on my own, and vice versa with all them too. So, for example, Kane Hodder, the one that we just finished the pre-order with, his agent happens to represent a few people that we signed. So it just made sense. When I talked to her about Kane, she's like, well, I have these people too, like Bill Moseley. Like he's our next one that's like coming out, from Devil's Rejects, all that, Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw. He's the next one. And she just happened to rep him. So that it was like one conversation led to the next. I'm like, well, Bill Moseley's perfect. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's do it. You
just find the door and walk right on through.
Correct. And that's it. And you just have to know who you contact or who to contact. And sometimes you get responses and sometimes you don't. Sometimes people who can get you in through the back door, which works out there too. Like, for example, the same representation of the Vincent Price estate represents Elvira. So that was an easy conversation to get. It wasn't an easy It wasn't an easy, deal to make, but it was an easy conversation to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was really intrigued by the collaboration with Elvira.
We wanted her bad.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Correct. It's a big deal, and we all know it's a big deal. And we treat them all the same. Everybody gets the same treatment. Everybody's a big deal. But it's Elvira. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
The perfect sense.
When I was looking through the collaborations on the website, I came across Elvira and thought, wow, that's a huge deal. But then, it makes total sense.
Yeah, it does. It's perfect.
If there was any coffee for Elvira, it would be Dead Sled.
Her coffee's very good.
I'll have to make sure to snag that one next time then.
or freaking after we get off, you can just DM me your address and I can just send you one. But we'll freaking talk about that later.
Well, yeah, that would also be great.
Yeah.
Looking at the musical collaborations, Wisdom and Chains, right. The Toasters, I'm guessing Mike W. is more of the ska fan.
100%. But this all happened. They reached out to us. They actually emailed the website saying something like, I forget what it was. I would have to go back and look because I saved the email, but it was Tim Carnes, the bass player. And he's like, hey, I'm Tim Carnes of the Toasters. Because when it comes to my ska knowledge, I started Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah, that's me too.
That's where my knowledge starts and past there. So I messaged Mike and I'm like, hey, do you know who the Toasters are? And he's like, do I know who the Toasters are? Because Mike's a musician too. He was a musician. He's just very smart when it comes to the musical realm. And he's just like, I love the Toasters. And I think they asked for like bags to help promote, or I forget what it was. But I responded and I'm like, well, instead of that, how about we just do a coffee with one another? And the deal was done in like 24 hours. It was crazy. And we need a new packaging for our the Toasters is our other single origin. Sorry. I'm dumb. That's a Papa New That's a Papua New Guinea coffee.
Oh, nice.
So it was just good timing.
So it sounds like sometimes you guys reach out, but then other times artists will reach out to you for collaboration?
99, correct. I would say 99% of the time it's us reaching out.
I see.
But, the agents of those people will be like, hey, I have all these people. They all want coffees too.
Right.
And sometimes I'm like, well, no, I'm sorry. Like, it just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? It's just like I love you and I want to work with you, but
it has to be the right.
Everybody can't have one.
It has to make sense.
Uh-huh.
In terms of the flavor of the coffee, do the artists usually send you a kind of a taste they want to go for? Or is that usually up to just the roaster's preference and choice in the coffee?
Some do, some don't. So I'll just give you two examples. Elvira is the first first good example. Her agent was like, I'm not too concerned with what the coffee is. I just want good packaging.
Okay.
And he's like, you can handle it. So I was talking to our roaster back and forth, and I'm like, she deserves a little higher quality. That's like do a little higher quality blend. You know what I mean? So we use like Rwanda beans and Ethiopian, and we just,
right.
And he sent me all these samples, and I'm just taste testing them on a Saturday morning, like 3 or 4 different coffees I think I went through. And I'm just like, yeah, this one, this is the best one. But then you got a guy like, Wisdom in Chains. Let's just use them for example. Luke, the freaking drummer. He's the one that picked that flavor. He sent me he sent me a paragraph for a flavor profile.
Oh shit.
Like, Luke's a fantastic human being. He's hilarious, and he's a huge coffee drinker. So he's just like, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. So I had a bunch of, I had a sample made up, shipped it to him. He's like, He's like, I want a little more cookie taste in it. Like a little more cookie. Like, okay, a little more cookie taste. Let's do it. So I had a new one batched up for him, sent it out to him. He's like, this is perfect. And Wisdom in Chains was born.
Yeah, that sounds on brand for a band like that.
Yeah, I know. I was just, it was, because I was texting with Richie first, because that's how I actually met them, through a mutual friend of mine. She's a hardcore fanatic, and she's great friends with the band. And Crystal was like, hey, I'm figuring you guys are doing coffees. Would you like to do I know the band of Wisdom in Chains. I mean, and they're legends. I mean, it's, they're freaking, especially PA, right? It's just, from like Pennsylvania, you got Wisdom in Chains, Jesus Peace, Code Orange. Like, those are the PA guys that are just, or should I say female, because of Reba too, but it's just like, it's just the team. They're killing it. And I was like, let's do it. And then Richie texted me, or I texted him. We talked for a little bit. Then he hooked me up with Luke. And that's that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now we just have to focus on getting all of the PA hardcore bands their own blends, like the Code Orange blend, the Jesus Peace, Curse of the Serpent blend.
Let me tell you what about Code Orange. Jesus Peace I could probably get, because Aaron and I follow each other. And
right.
But like Code Orange, I was in the midst of working with them. It was right when Underneath launched.
Oh, shit.
I was texting back and forth with Jamie. I sent him a bunch of coffee. He loved it. Sent him the cold brew, hot coffee, all that good stuff. Then he's like, send me the email on the pitch to Reba, and I
just never heard back.
I never heard back again.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I have no ill will. It's just I still love them to death. I think they're fantastic. But I don't know if it was maybe just a loss of emails. I sent a few emails. I chalked it up to stuff like that. You never know, because they were really busy at the time. It was freaking pre-COVID.
Yeah, and they were
just blowing up.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
Correct.
And it could have just fallen through the cracks.
Correct.
That goes through so many hands when you're at that level.
Oh my goodness, don't I know? Because we're talking to a couple people. Well, actually, we I can't say who, but we signed 2 gigantic names that are coming out over the rest of the year as far as music goes. And it was just like, you got to talk to this person. You got to go in this Zoom meeting. There's 4 people on this Zoom meeting, and it's just headaches, but it's fun. At least they're nice people. They aren't bad. You know what I mean? They're great to work with, but I think that's kind of what happened with Code Orange. They had just signed with Roadrunner. They had just got a new talent agency who was like, I can't think of the talent agency, but they have like Slipknot, all these gigantic bands. So you know that they're busy.
I'm sure it just slipped through the cracks.
Which is fine. I mean, I still rock their music, and I hope someday it comes back around.
I'd love to see that happen.
Because I still want a Code Orange coffee so bad, man. Like it's
the underneath blend.
And just the artwork would like be sick from that album.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what crazy shit they would put on a coffee bag.
Oh yeah, but I would have to do like a limited series of like I Am King or Forever or something like that, just to like make myself feel better about life,
Yeah, I Am King is definitely my favorite Code Orange album. It came out right when they rebranded from Code Orange Kids to Code Orange.
Right.
And they weren't quite at the arena level where they're at now. And so I was able to see them at my hometown venue of like 300, 400 people. And they played that album as well as some of their older stuff like Flower Mouth, off of Flower Mouth and things like that. But they're always going to be solid to me.
There's no doubt. I mean, it's like, I hope like one day they come back around and play like This Is Hardcore or something like that. Or, you know what I mean? Just to come in. They'll sell it out.
For sure.
But I mean, it's just like, or even Knocked Loose. Knocked Loose is playing in Philly soon in freaking the little church.
Oh, at First Unitarian.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's crazy to me.
That's going to be off the chain.
That's crazy to me because like Knocked Loose is another one of those bands that kind of went from here to here with no steps in between.
Yeah, overnight.
Like they just blew up and I love them. And it took me a little bit to get into them. And a couple of my friends that like the music, they're like, yeah, like I don't really get Knocked Loose. And I'm like, well, that's okay. But like I think they're great. I thought a different shade of blue just blew the doors off the place. It was just a whole new level.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just a super raw album. The way it was recorded, it really feels like, you're in the room. And they brought a lot of different death metal and hardcore and metalcore feel to the album to create, this just whirlwind of aggression. I really do have a lot of love for that album, and those guys in general, they just know how to write really aggressive music.
And I love Brian's vocals, man. I love it. And
it shreds.
It does shred. And even the tones in the background, even their guitar is just like, it's so good. And people don't get it. It's like, I've heard some people make fun of them, other hardcore bands don't like make fun of them. And then some other people will be like, well, you're just kind of mad because they went from like 5 followers to like a couple 100,000 in like a year. You know what I mean? And they're selling out wherever they go because, they're touring the world and selling out. It's like Turnstile. You know what I mean? Like Turnstile is another one of my favorites. They're fantastic.
I'm a big Turnstile fan. They just released new music.
Love freaking Connection. It's like an 11-minute EP.
Yeah.
They're evolving too. They actually put out an 11-minute and 30-second video with the whole album. And it's like, and the whole thing's like a story. It's awesome. They're so good.
Yeah, I've been a Turnstile fan since Step to Rhythm.
Yeah.
And they're definitely on my list of bands to see. Hopefully this year. I know they stopped touring for a while and they were just kind of doing festivals. But, a lot of bands are getting back together that haven't been touring for a while. So hopefully I'll get to see them sometime soon.
He's got a lot of energy too. I've never seen him, but you can watch the videos and he's just fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that we've kind of crossed over into the music side now because I wanted to talk to you about the playlists that are on the website.
Okay.
I was looking through not just the hardcore playlist, but the quarantine playlist, and there's a lot of really great bands that are on my personal playlist as well. Like bands like Nothing specifically. I feel like they're one of those bands that's still, very underrated for how good that they actually are.
Yeah. Yeah. Aaron Hurd.
Yep.
Is the bass player. Yeah.
So is there anybody in particular that you're looking forward to seeing? I don't know if you have any plans to go to shows coming up yet or anything like that.
You want to know, I think it's the first show I'm going to see is going to be Sick of It All opening for the Bouncing Souls.
Oh, wow. Is that in Philly or in New York?
No, that's in the Jersey Shore at the Stone Pony Summer Stage.
That's going to be fucking crazy.
Crazy. The last show I saw was the Bouncing Souls, but it was the Boss Tones opening up for him.
Oh man, that sounds like a crazy show.
Which is a very cool show. But like Sick of It All, opening up for the Bouncing Souls, that's like kind of here and here. It's kind of different. You know what I mean? There's gonna be there's definitely gonna be two different crowds there.
Definitely.
But a lot of hardcore people love the Bouncing Souls, especially the Jersey hardcore scene. I mean, they're just, they're so Jersey. Yeah, that's what they say.
Yep. Sick of It All. I love that old school was more old school mixed with modern.
Correct.
That kind of New York hardcore sound. They were supposed to come here in 2020, but then of course everything got shut down because of COVID.
Right.
And they were supposed to come along with Madball at around the same time. And so I was really looking forward to that. But of course, now I'm going to have to wait until they announce some other tour.
Yeah, Madball just played near me this past Sunday, freaking down in Reading. I mean, it's a little too far for me for a Sunday show. It's like a 2+ hour drive, and I'm not trying to drive 2 hours and come back and go to work the next day.
Right.
But a couple of my friends were down there, and they just said it was off the charts packed. I mean, of course, it's Madball, but freaking when you're at the Reverb and that little stage.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just, but that's like what it's all about, man.
I think shows that we wouldn't normally see packed are just now going to be packed. Yeah. Like they want to see it. So everyone's just like, I don't care what I see. Like I'm going to see Lady Gaga because I got to see some kind of I got to see something. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, I think that Sick of It All, Bouncing Souls is going to be the first one. Or Primus. I forget which order. But because Primus canceled their show last year, we had tickets for it. They do an entire Rush set, leave, come back, and then they do their greatest hits. Now, I'm not a big Rush guy, so I don't really care, but I just like watching Les Claypool play. So that's a little different, but so I forget.
Well, seeing him play a bunch of Geddy Lee bass lines will be cool.
It really is. Yeah. Cause I've seen Primus live and it's stupid. It's not fair.
No, it's not.
It really isn't.
It's really an experience to see that level of musical skill being played live.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Even Lady Gaga too. I have so much respect for Lady Gaga.
If you don't, look, man, as you notice from that playlist that you looked at, my choices go from here to here. I mean, it's just, I will never,
right.
I'm not the type of guy to make fun of somebody because you like a certain thing, right? Like, I think everybody has their own tastes. I love everything except just a couple things I'll never get into. But for the most part, I like almost everything, or at least one song from everybody. And just, it's just like, oh yeah, I freaking know that. It's pretty good, and then I hate the next song. But like Lady Gaga, if you can't respect her talents at this point, then you just don't know music, or you're just trying to be a jerk.
Yep. Definitely. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, Mike, and, talking to me about Dead Sled and, your musical taste and everything. I just have one last question before we go.
What's up?
What is your favorite city for beans and breakdowns?
Pittsburgh was always my favorite. To see shows in and things like that, it was always my favorite because there used to be a club there. It's called the Pittsburgh Metropole. It's not there anymore. That's where I used to go see the Deftones all the time, and just bands like that coming up. It was just, I saw Korn with their first album there. It was just insane, or just insane. Sorry, and it's not a very big place, and that's where these guys got their start. And it's just in the sound, the acoustics in that place were just perfect. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Metropole was probably my favorite place to ever see a show.
Awesome. And I'm guessing the coffee in Pittsburgh is also pretty, it's got to be pretty great too.
Oh, well, as far as the beans go, I'm going to have to say Jersey because that's where our coffee is roasted.
Yeah.
I knew Dead Sled would make its way back in there. I expected New York.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the only thing I can't say. Well, my favorite place to roast beans is Pittsburgh, and we're not in Pittsburgh.
Have you been able to venture out into your coffee tasting experience more, or do you just kind of stick to the Dead Sled roast and things like that? I know you have to taste a lot of coffees probably.
Well, look, if I'm out and about, like if I'm traveling or whatever, like I very rarely bring Dead Sled with me, but if I'm on the road, I always try to hit a local spot. And there are a lot of good coffee places out there. I'll never lie to you and say, oh, every other place is terrible, because everybody knows that I'm lying at that point. Right. So, but
yeah, what you say about the Dunkin' Donuts and the sweet coffee and things like that, I used to be exactly like that for a long time. I only drank sweet coffee until I got a job at a coffee shop where I was able to kind of wean myself out of the sweeter coffees and more into black coffee.
Right.
And I learned that, coffee goes so far beyond just brewing coffee and putting it in a cup to drink it. It's small families and farms all over the world growing.
There's no doubt.
The coffee and sending it to the U.S. and all over the world. And so to me, it's gotten more into like the sourcing and the global trade and the local economies of it and things like that.
Right.
It just goes so far into sustainability and, just knowing where your coffee is coming from. And, I don't just listen to hardcore. I don't just listen to metal music. We like everything. And the same goes for coffee. You don't have to be pretentious about coffee to love coffee.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm so glad that I drink black coffee now. But it's okay if but it's okay if you don't. Like, I know people that are just straight coffee snobs that love just a little bit of cream and a little bit of sugar in their coffee. They love that little sweet bite. And I get it, because I used to love it too. Trust me. Like I love the taste of sugar in coffee. I think it's delicious. But now it's just black fur. I mean.
Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast to talk about Dead Sled Coffee and all about your music taste and everything going on with you.
No, pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I wish you guys all the best for the upcoming collaborations. We'll be sure to check them out. Everybody go over to deadsledcoffee.com and check out some of their roasts that they've got going on and show these guys some love.
Yeah, no, same here. Thank you.
Take care. I'd like to say a special thanks to Mike and Dead Sled Coffee for coming on the podcast and talking to us about all of the great collaborations and his love of hardcore and coffee. If you'd like to know more, check out deadsledcoffee.com. They've got a great online store where you can order some beans, some merch. Go and check them out. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. Also, to keep up with guest announcements, merch releases, and just general info, check us out on Instagram at Beans and Breakdowns and also on the web at beansandbreakdowns.com. Thanks again for tuning into Beans and Breakdowns. And until next week, stay caffeinated and wake the fuck up.